For over 7 decades, Dame Joan Collins has embodied glamour, resilience, and unapologetic confidence. She has conquered Hollywood, London's West End, and the world of best-selling novels, leaving a trail of sequins, diamonds, and unforgettable performances in her wake. To many, she is the ultimate diva, the fierce and fabulous Alexis Carrington of Dynasty, the woman who married 5 times, the tabloid queen with a sharp tongue and sharper cheekbones. But for all the red carpets and cameras, Joan Collins has long been hiding a truth so personal, so deeply buried, that even her closest friends didn't know. Now, at 91, Joan Collins is speaking out. In a candid, heart-wrenching sit-down interview, in her most revealing memoir yet, she has finally pulled back the curtain on the truth she has hidden for over 60 years. And it's nothing like the world expected. The interview began like many others, full of wit, charisma, and stories of old Hollywood. But then Joan's tone shifted. Her eyes, usually glittering with mischief, softened. Her voice dropped, and then came the words that stunned everyone in the room. "I lost a child, and I never told anyone." Not really. The room went still. Joan Collins revealed that in the early 1960s, at the height of her rising stardom, she suffered a secret miscarriage during her relationship with actor Warren Beatty, a pregnancy neither of them had planned, and one she tried desperately to protect from the public eye. "I was filming, auditioning, flying across continents. And I was terrified. I didn't want to be judged, and I didn't want to lose my career. But it was already slipping away. What followed was weeks of fear, isolation, and ultimately heartbreak. I was alone when it happened," she said. "In a hotel bathroom in New York. No doctors. No support. Just blood, pain, and silence." She paused, and when it was over, I got up. I washed my face. I called my agent, and I went to a photo shoot. At the time, Joan was a contract starlet for 20th Century Fox, being groomed as the next Elizabeth Taylor. She was young, beautiful, and expected to play the Hollywood game. Smile, stay thin, avoid scandal. Pregnancy, especially out of wedlock, could have destroyed her career. And Beatty, only just emerging as a leading man, had his own future to protect. Warren was kind, but we were kids, Joan admitted. He didn't know what to do, and neither did I. Behind the glamorous magazine covers, Joan Collins was fighting for control of her body, her image, and her destiny, all while hiding one of the deepest losses of her life. I never mourned properly. There wasn't time. There wasn't space. There wasn't permission. The miscarriage, Joan now says, was just the beginning of a lifelong pattern of emotional suppression. I grew up in a time when women weren't supposed to feel too much. We were supposed to get on with it. I got very good at that. Her early years in the industry were full of contradictions. She was cast as the seductress, but warned never to show vulnerability. She was told to be sexy, but punished if she showed desire on her own terms. I became a master of putting on a face. A mask. Red lips, big hair, killer heels. It all kept people out. And it worked. The world fell in love with Joan Collins, the icon. But few knew the woman behind the character. In 1981, when Dynasty cast Joan as the deliciously evil Alexis Carrington, it was a career rebirth. The show catapulted her back into superstardom, turning her into a household name across continents. Alexis gave me something I didn't realize I needed: control. She was powerful, unapologetic, and didn't ask for permission. But even then, beneath the designer suits and perfectly arched eyebrows, Joan was carrying her silent grief. She still hadn't spoken about her miscarriage, not to her siblings, not to her husbands, and not to her children when they were old enough to understand. I thought I'd buried it, but it was always there, quiet, heavy. She describes moments on set when scenes about loss or betrayal would suddenly trigger memories she had spent decades trying to suppress. Some days I would cry after shooting. No one knew why, not even me. So why speak now? Because I'm ready, Joan said simply. Because I'm no longer afraid of being seen as weak. The decision to open up, she reveals, came during the pandemic. For the first time in her adult life, the world slowed down. The phone stopped ringing, and Joan, alone in her London flat for weeks on end, began to confront the ghosts she had long avoided. I kept thinking, What if I die and no one ever knew the real me? She began writing, not just scripts and memoirs, but letters to her younger self, journals of the baby she lost, and memories of those lonely days in 1961. It was, she says, the most painful and liberating process of her life. I had to forgive myself for hiding, for pretending, for coping the only way I knew how. Joan's children, now adults with children of their own, were among the first to read her full account. She feared their reaction, but says they were nothing but loving. They held me, they cried with me, and they thanked me for sharing. Even her current husband, Percy Gibson, to whom she's been married for over 20 years, was shocked by the depth of the secret. He knew bits, but not all of it, Joan confessed. He told me I was brave. I didn't feel brave, but I finally felt free. Since the story broke, Hollywood has reacted with an outpouring of respect and emotion. Actresses like Helen Mirren, Jane Fonda, and Nicole Kidman have praised Joan's courage. She's been our standard-bearer of glamour and grit. Now we see the soul beneath, Mirren said in a statement. The revelation has also reignited important conversations about women's health, reproductive rights, and the stigma surrounding miscarriage, especially in previous generations. Joan's story shows how far we've come and how far we still need to go, wrote one New York Times columnist. Joan's new memoir, titled Unscripted, is her most personal to date. Unlike her previous books, which focused on celebrity life and industry gossip, this one is a deep dive into the emotional cost of fame and the parts of her life that never made the headlines. It's raw, it's messy, it's human, she says. I wrote it not as Joan Collins, but as the girl who grew up in London wanting to be loved. The book covers everything from the miscarriage to her complicated marriages, her battles with ageism, and her evolving view of beauty, power, and regret. And, most movingly, she includes a letter to the child she lost, written in her handwriting on the final page. I never named them, but I love them, and I remember. Joan Collins has always defied expectations. She's outlived many of her peers, reinvented herself time and again, and continues to inspire women around the world with her fearlessness and style. But with this revelation, she's done something even more radical. She's allowed herself to be vulnerable. People think vulnerability is weakness. It's not. It's strength without makeup. Today, she still wears her trademark eyeliner. She still turns heads when she walks into a room. But there's something softer now, something more grounded. I've played hundreds of characters, but at 91, I'm finally just Joan. Collins says she's not planning on retiring, ever. Why should I? I'm still standing, still curious, still ready to surprise you. She's currently developing a limited docuseries based on Unscripted, which will combine dramatic reenactments with archival footage and new interviews. There's even talk of stage adaptation. It's not just my story, she says. It's every woman's story who's ever had to hide her pain behind a smile. As the interview winds down, Joan Collins smiles. A real one this time. No posing, no flicked hair, no wink. I've lived 9 lives, maybe more, but I don't want to hide anymore. Not my age, not my mistakes, and certainly not my pain. I choose truth now. And in doing so, Joan Collins has proven that even after 70 years in the spotlight, the most powerful thing a woman can reveal isn't her glamour, it's her truth.